Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel to the series of Python Unleashed. My name is Ajay and today's topic is we are going to understand the working of a recursive function. Now a recursive function is a function which is called within itself. Just there is a sample code in front of you that there is a function called as series, okay, and let us not just get into details about this code, but I just want you to focus over here, and you can see that we are giving a call to the same function again inside the function. That is, so it's a recursive function is basically a function which we call within itself. So we are giving the call to this function within itself, isn't it? So this is just a sample example just to show you that when we talk about recursive function, we basically call to the same function within itself. Okay, so we'll take some examples. For example, we have this code over here, okay, and this particular code is a example of a recursive function, and it will print a series from 1 to 5. It will just print from 1 to 5. So basically you can say that a recursive function can also be used as a loop. Okay, so every program that you can do with a simple loop, we can do the same program using a recursive function also, because when we talk about a recursive function, it also works like a loop. Okay, let us focus over here with this particular example. For example, if I give a call to this series and I say pass the parameter n, the argument is 5, so the parameter n will have the value 5. Okay, so the first condition that we have in this is if n not equal to 1. Now you are just kind of thinking that why I have the same code all over again, right? You can just see these are the same codes, right? Now the reason behind this is when we talk about the working of recursive function, and if you want to understand the exact working of it, then the best thing that we can do is always assume that the number of calls that we give to that function, so we all you can assume that we give that many calls to all the different functions. So you can assume, though this is the same function, this is just a one function that we have. Okay, we are not going to have different functions, okay, when we actually do it in Python, but this is the only one code that we have. Okay, but to understand the working of it, we always assume that when we give a call to the same function within itself, we actually give a call to a new function. But in reality, there is no new function being called. It is the same function that we call. Just for your understanding, if you want to understand the exact working. Okay, so if we have this parameter n and it has the value 5, and so the condition n not equal to 1, this condition goes false, isn't it? Sorry, the condition goes true because this is n is not equal to 1, and then you can check over here, that is x is equal to series n minus 1. Now what is happening over here is I'm giving call to the same function, so from here again it jumps over here, the controller, but let us assume that we are actually giving a call to another function, and what will be the value of n for this particular function? That will be 4. Why 4? Because you can see I'm passing the value that is n minus 1, so that is 5, so 5 minus 1, that is 4, and then again we are giving a call to this function. So let us assume we are to the new function. Okay, and again over here the same code will the condition will get checked, that is n not equal to 1. The condition goes true, and again then we are giving a call to the function that is series. So let us assume that this is another function, so we are saying n minus 1, so again the value that will get passed is 3, isn't it? So because the value of n for this particular function was 4, so I said 4 n minus 1, that is 4 minus 1, that is 3. And then over here again we are saying this condition, same condition, n not equal to 1, and then I'm passing n minus 1. The value of n for this particular function is 3, so 3 minus 1, that is 2. So you can come over here, and from here again we are giving a call, that is 2 minus 1 will be called, and then we will reach out here, and from here is what we need to understand how the working takes place. Now remember that every function that is being called, it will return something, even if it is I mean the function is going to return, isn't it? So the place at where the function gets called, it is going to return to the next statement, right? And if you're retaining some value, so that value you can collect in some variable, and then the controller moves on to the next statement, isn't it? So over here you can see the value of n is 1. Now this is interesting. Now this condition goes false since n is equal to 1, right? So what happens, this condition goes false, so it will go to the else part. Now in the else part, what we are doing is we are just returning n. Now what is the value of n for this particular function? That is 1, isn't it? So where will this value return? It will return to its previous call, so that is this one. Okay, so the value that I'm returning, that is 1, it will get collected in this x, isn't it? So I'm just returning this value n, and I'm collecting that into x, and then I'm printing x. So what will it print? It will print 1, isn't it? And then over here you can see this statement, that is return n. Now this statement return n, it will return the value that is 2. Why it will return 2? Because the value of n for this particular function was 2. So it will return 2, and where will it return? It will return to its previous call, that is this particular function. So over here also, when I return that value gets collected into the variable x, and then I print that x, right? And again the same statement, that is return n, and then this n again gets returned to this particular function, and it gets collected into this x. I print x, then I say return n, and over here it gets collected and it prints, isn't it? Now if you see the program, now let us just switch to Python. Okay, and I have already typed the code over here, you can see. Now let us run this code, and you can see the output. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Since I gave a call, I passed the argument as 5, so n had 5. Suppose if I pass the argument as 10, so in that case we will have the value from 1 to 10, as you can see out here. Okay, so how it works, now you can see this is the only one function that we have, and I again repeat, we are just assuming that we are giving different calls to this function, but it is actually one and the same function, but it is a recursive function. So you can see when we pass kind of, okay, I'll just take the value 5. So when we pass the value 5, so n receives the value 5, that is the parameter n, and then this condition becomes true, and then again we keep on calling to the same function till the point n becomes 1, and when n becomes 1, this condition goes false, and then the function starts returning the value to its previous calls. Since the function was been called 5 times, so it is going to return 5 times, it is going to return the value. Okay, so always remember, in a recursive function, the number of times that you give a call to the function, it is going to return that many times. Okay, so this is the working of a recursive function. This is just a simple example. So every program that you can do it with a for loop, you can do the same program using a recursive function. So this is just a loop. For example, if I had to use a loop and generate this series, just print from 1 to 10. So I will simply use a for loop for I in range 1, 11, and I can have this, isn't it? But the same thing we can do it with a recursive function. Now recursive function, if you really want to know in deep, is like, you know, in future, if you really become a very good programmer, and if you really want to go into the data structures and you want to come up with your own data structures, so in that case, there is something called as dynamic typing. In dynamic typing, normally we use a recursive function, understand it. Okay, so that is altogether a very different concept. So over here, this tutorial is very much restricted to the basics of recursive function. Okay, so but this is very important in future. If kind of you take computer science and you really want to go deep into it, so you're going to deal with this thing, and every good programmer, okay, kind of knows how to work with recursive function. Okay, so this is the one example, and then we have one more example, that is this one. Okay, so if you see this example, so what we are doing in this is, okay, I just had this wrong screen, just a minute. Okay, this one, in fact, okay, there is something that I messed. Okay, this is actually 1 plus 2, and we are just, adding the first n natural numbers. Okay, the first n natural number. Now you may say that we already have a formula for adding the first n natural numbers, isn't it? So if you want to add the first n natural numbers, we have a formula, and immediately we can calculate the addition of first n natural numbers. But just to explain you the working of recursive function, what we are going to do is we are going to actually take the value n, and we are going to add 1 plus 2 plus 3. That is what we are going to do through the code. Okay, now just focus on this particular code, that the value of n, let us assume that is 5. Now over here the value of n is 5, the condition becomes true, and now you can focus on this particular statement, that is total is equal to n plus series n minus 1. So this is the same thing that we did in the previous example. So what happens, this is actually a call, n, that is 5 plus, and then the series n minus 1. So this is a call. So what happens, we jump to this particular function. So over here the value of n becomes 4, that is 5 minus 1, isn't it? And from here again the same thing happens, n is not equal to 1, so we jump to this one, and from here we jump to this one, that is 3 minus 1, that is 2. So the value of n over here is 2, and from here again the condition goes true, so we jump to this one, and over here the condition goes false, that is n not equal to 1, this condition goes false. Now let us understand what exactly happens over here. Over here the condition goes false, so I am saying return 1. Okay, so where will this value get returned? To its previous call, isn't it? So this value will get returned at the place where the function is being called, so that is 1 over here, isn't it? And the value of 2, you can see that is the value of n is 2, so this is 2 plus 1, so that is 3, isn't it? And that number is getting assigned to this total, that is 3, and then I'm returning this value total, that is 3. Where will this value get returned? To its previous call. So this will get called return over here, that at this place. So the place where it is being called over here, we will have the value that is 3. And what is the value of n over here? That is 3. So 3 plus 3, that is 6. And then again I'm collecting that into a total and returning that 6 to its previous call. Over here there is a 6, isn't it? And there is n, so that is 6 plus 4, that is 10, and that I collect in total, and then return the 10 over here, and 10 plus 5, that is 15. So the 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 is 15. Let us just type this code and understand whether it is working right or not. Okay, let me just change this, that is over here it was total is equal to n plus, and I say series n minus 1. This is very important. Okay, and then what will I do? Okay, let us just print this total. So we will have this every time that it returns a value, we will collect that addition into a total, and then we'll print every time, and then return n. Okay, and that's it, I guess. Okay, it was return 1 over here. So okay, so I replace that n, that is the else part, I need to return 1. Okay, now let us run this, and you can see we have 5, 3, 5, 7, 9 and 5. Now there is something that went wrong, and that is I need to return not n, but I'm supposed to return the total, isn't it? Now let us run this, and you can see that the first addition was 3, then it became 6, and then it became 10, and at last it became 15. And over here at the last you can see the statement I'm saying print, so it is printing one more time, that is 15. Okay, so I'll just remove this. Okay, Okay, and now we will have the answer. So at last you can see we have the value 15 out here. So I want you to understand how this took place. Just go through this, okay, and just the number of times that it is giving a call, and that many times it will return the value. What value it will return, just focus on this total and just replace at the place where the function was called, and then take the value of n, add it, return, and then you will easily understand how this exactly works. Okay, and if I make this plus as that is a product into multiplication operator, so what will happen? Can you guess this? So this will basically calculate the factorial of a number. So you can see the factorial of a number, that is 5, is 120. So for example, if you take this as into operator, if this is an into operator, I'll just change this to into operator. So one by one you can just calculate that what exactly is going to happen. Okay, so I'll just change this into an into operator, and okay, and now what will happen? N is 5, so it will come over here, give a call again to 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, and then from here you need to calculate. The calculation will take place. Just understand, return 1, right? So return 1, so it will return over here, so that is at 2. 2 into 1, that is 2, so total will have 2. So I will return that 2 over here, so that is 3. 3 into 2, that is 6, so that 6 value will get written over here. So 6 into 4, right, that is 24, and that value will get written over here, and 24 into n, that is 5, that is 120, isn't it? Okay, so this is how we can work with a recursive function. So you can see now we will actually not going to print every time if you just want the answer. So I will just do this, and then we will have the print statement over here, and I will say that factorial of the number is, and comma, that's it, and just run this, and now you can see, okay, there is just some error, that is the closing bracket. Now let us run this, and you can see the factorial of the number 5, actually I should have had 5 out here, or number n is, and then the answer is 120, isn't it? So if I pass maybe 6, and you can see the value, the factorial of 6 is 720, isn't it? So see, you can just understand this code, how it works. So always assume the number of times that it is given call. So you can assume that we are giving call to different functions, and then just keep on returning value. Just do the calculation, and easily you can understand this. It is not really a very difficult to understand. There are many students kind of struggle with this, but it is really not that difficult if you really focus. Okay, that's it for today. See you next time. Bye for now.